In recent years, a silent transformation has taken place inside many Seventh-day Adventist churches. What was once a solemn and sacred environment has gradually given way to a more modern, upbeat, and entertainment-driven atmosphere. The question many longtime members are now asking is simple, yet deeply unsettling. Has the Adventist church service become too worldly? Traditions that once defined the Adventist identity are quietly disappearing. The Sabbath, once marked by simplicity, modesty, and spiritual depth, now competes with stage lights, multimedia presentations, and contemporary performances. Biblical sermons are increasingly replaced by motivational talks, and the reverence of the past seems to be fading behind a veil of modernity. This video investigates 5 specific changes that have raised concerns among older members, not out of resistance to progress, but out of a desire to preserve what once made Adventist worship distinct. What was lost along the way? And more importantly, what does this say about where the church is headed? 1. A new stage. Lights, screens, and the rise of entertainment worship. One of the most visible changes in Adventist church services is the increasing use of stage lighting, LED screens, and production-style worship. What was once a simple platform with a pulpit and a piano is now a fully equipped stage, complete with color-changing lights, fog effects, and multimedia visuals. These elements, once foreign to Adventist sanctuaries, are now being embraced under the banner of relevance and attracting the next generation. The shift is not merely aesthetic. The atmosphere created by these modern tools significantly changes the tone of the service. Instead of cultivating silence, reflection, and awe, the focus now leans toward stimulation, excitement, and performance. Worship leaders often take center stage, not to direct attention to God, but to lead a musical experience that resembles a concert, a trend borrowed from mainstream evangelical megachurches. For many older members, this change represents more than just a stylistic update. It feels like a departure from the sacred. The sanctuary, once a place of humility and reverence, now echoes with amplified beats and visual spectacle. The line between worship and entertainment has blurred so much that some are left wondering, is this still a church service, or has it become a spiritual show? 2. Dress codes disappearing. When Sabbath lost its formality. There was a time when Sabbath morning meant putting on your best. Men wore suits, women chose modest dresses, and children were taught that entering the house of God was an occasion worthy of dignity and respect. Today, that visual culture is nearly unrecognizable. In many congregations, casual wear, jeans, sneakers, t-shirts, and even sports caps, has become the norm, with little regard for the solemnity of the setting. Leaders often say that God looks at the heart, and while that may be true, the way a community presents itself for worship reflects more than just fashion. It reveals reverence, attitude, and intent. The abandonment of formality is not just about clothing. It signals a broader cultural shift toward informality in spiritual life. When everything becomes casual, even sacred time begins to feel ordinary. For older members who were raised to treat the Sabbath with deep respect, this change is disorienting. It's not about nostalgia or stubbornness. It's about the meaning behind the tradition. The decline in dress standards mirrors a larger erosion of sacred boundaries, prompting many to ask, if we no longer dress differently for holy time, do we still perceive it as holy at all? 3. From doctrine to motivation. The vanishing of biblical preaching. Sermons were once the cornerstone of the Adventist service. Deeply biblical, often challenging, and rooted in prophecy, sanctification, and the urgency of the times. Pastors spoke with conviction about sin, obedience, the soon return of Christ, and the need for holiness. But in many pulpits today, those messages have been replaced by a softer tone, centered on self-improvement, emotional healing, and generic positivity. While encouragement has its place, many seasoned members note that doctrinal depth is being sacrificed in the name of relevance. Instead of hearing about Daniel 7 or the 3 angels' messages, congregations now receive anecdotes, inspirational quotes, and slideshows with life tips. Terms like sin, judgment, and repentance are used less frequently, sometimes avoided altogether to prevent discomfort or offense. This shift leaves a theological vacuum. When preaching becomes indistinguishable from a TED Talk, the power of the word is diluted. Older members often leave services feeling empty, not because the speaker was unskilled, but because something vital was missing, the cutting edge of truth that once awakened consciences and stirred hearts. The question lingers, in trying not to offend, Has the church lost its prophetic voice? 4. The sound has changed, from hymns to performances. For generations, the Adventist hymnal was more than a songbook, it was a spiritual anchor. Each hymn carried theology, reverence, and a connection to generations past. Today, in many churches, the hymnal sits untouched, replaced by contemporary praise bands, background tracks, and projected lyrics. The organ and piano gave way to electric guitars, drums, and worship leaders with headsets and stage presence. This change in sound has also brought a change in focus. Many older members notice that congregational singing is fading, replaced by performances from the front. The congregation listens more than it participates. Lyrics are often repetitive and emotionally driven, lacking the doctrinal substance that once defined Adventist music. The result is an experience that feels more like a concert than a corporate act of worship. While some argue that music must evolve with culture, others ask, evolve into what? Music is powerful. It teaches, shapes emotion, and communicates values. When sacred music is replaced with entertainment-style worship, the message of the church shifts along with the melody. What are we truly praising, the Creator or the experience itself? 5. The Sabbath, from sacred time to social routine. Few elements are more central to Adventist identity than the Sabbath. For decades, it was honored with clear boundaries. Work ceased, entertainment was set aside, and the day was filled with worship, rest, and family reflection. But in 2025, the observance of the Sabbath has quietly morphed. For many, it now blends seamlessly with everyday life, filled with social media, casual outings, and digital distractions. Modern technology has played a significant role in this shift. Sabbath mornings are now live-streamed, often watched in pajamas. Phone notifications buzz during Bible study. Posts from Sabbath lunch flood Instagram before sunset. The line between holy and common has blurred, not through rebellion, but through accommodation. The sacred rhythm of the day has been replaced with convenience and comfort. Veteran members remember when the Sabbath felt different, slower, quieter, weightier. It wasn't just a break from labor, it was a spiritual appointment with God. Today, with so many secular habits woven into Sabbath hours, that sense of divine separation is fading. And so the question returns, if even the Sabbath has been diluted, what foundation remains untouched? Across the Adventist world, many longtime members have quietly watched their beloved worship services change. Not overnight, but gradually, almost imperceptibly. At first, it was a few new songs. Then came the lights. Then the sermons felt different. And now, some ask whether what happens on Sabbath mornings still resembles the church they once knew. This isn't about nostalgia. It's about spiritual identity. It's about asking if, in our quest to keep up with the world, we've slowly begun to mirror it. The goal of this reflection is not to attack progress or reject change entirely. Every generation must find ways to reach people and express faith in meaningful ways. But progress without discernment leads to drift. And drift, over time, leads to loss of meaning, of purpose, of sacredness. The church was once known for its countercultural values: modesty, reverence, truth, and prophetic voice. But when those values begin to blur into cultural trends, it becomes difficult to know where the church ends and the world begins. Some will argue that style doesn't matter, only the heart. But the form often shapes the message. A pulpit replaced by a stage, hymns replaced by emotional ballads, deep sermons replaced by surface-level encouragement, these are not neutral shifts. They send a message, especially to younger generations, about what matters most. And when the message becomes centered on feelings rather than on truth, the foundation of faith becomes fragile. There is still time to ask hard questions, and to return to what made Adventist worship spiritually rich in the first place. This doesn't mean rejecting all innovation or clinging to tradition for tradition's sake. It means being honest about what we may have lost along the way. A generation is growing up that may never know what a reverent, Bible-centered Sabbath service felt like. The question is, will we help preserve it, or simply watch it disappear? Now it's your turn to speak. Have you seen these changes happening in your local church? Do you agree with the concerns raised in this video, or do you see things differently? Leave a comment below and share your honest thoughts. Whether you're a lifelong member or someone watching from the outside, your perspective matters, and your voice deserves to be heard.